All right, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. I'm Andrew Madera, account executive here at Xeeva. And at Xeeva, we are a low-cost data transformation company with solutions covering the entire source-to-pay lifecycle. I'm very happy to introduce you to the Insight Plum team, Milan, Otajovic, and Mayank Chandla joining us today. If you guys could introduce yourselves, that'd be great, and we can get started here.
Thank you, Andrew. Hi, everyone. This is Mayank Chandla. I'm the founder and CEO of Insight Plum. I'll tell you more about Insight Plum in a bit, but let me get you over to my colleague, Milan.
Hi, good morning, good evening, everyone. This is Milan Otajovic speaking. I am from Insight Plum, and I work as a VP for Alliances and Partnerships, and I'm really delighted to be part of this call with Xeeva. Over to you.
Perfect. Thank you for that, Mayank and Milan. So if you guys could walk through Insight Plum, I think our audience would get some great feedback from it, and we can get started and learn some more.
Okay, thank you. Insight Plum is a company we found back in 2020 during the pandemic. As really the headline says here, it's procurement, skills, and technology for everyone. And I'll explain this, what we are about, and just start with the context on what procurement leaders need today, and then go through really why we exist in the first place. So essentially, a procurement leader today is looking for value-driven, sustainable procurement. They need to, of course, digitize their procurement with a landscape that is scalable, the architecture that's scalable for continuous innovation. They want to eliminate transactions, get more automation, get and service their business partners better through more predictive and collaborative demand management. As a procurement leader, you're also looking to build competitive differentiation for your company so that you can actually have sustainable growth. Procurement is also changing in the way it operates, so more outcome-driven procurement. Also on the supply chain side, design more sustainable supply chain. And all this is kind of incomplete without having to actually invest in your organization and your talent. So continuous investment into your skill enhancement, into having a more agile operating model, and also to develop intellectual property. So in short, that's what a procurement leader needs to do today. So let me give you a bit of context on Insight Plum, why Insight Plum was born, and how we see the market. So if we look at the whole global B2B e-commerce, this is today about $12 trillion, and it's going to be about $25 trillion by 2028. And 65% of this B2B e-commerce is actually made up of small and medium enterprise. And the rest is, of course, large enterprise. But if you look at the way the tech ecosystem is, especially from a service provider point of view, so you got a few large players, and then you got the big system integrators, the consulting firms, and they primarily focus on the large enterprise. And then on the other hand, you also got the 65% of the company that's quite unaddressed or underserved by these large consulting firms or the software, the large enterprise software. So on the other hand, you have almost 5,000 other procurement technology providers. And some of them, like we partner with the top 100, including Xeeva, which is one of the emerging top procurement tech providers. We partner with software companies like Xeeva because there is a great product out there that's more agile, that's more suited to, let's say, 65% of this market and also to large enterprise, but it's definitely more suited and can address the needs of the companies that are growing or bursting from small enterprise to mid, or from mid getting into large enterprise. However, there isn't a service provider to service them, right? So, and there are many of them. So if you look at it from a customer point of view, they are also overwhelmed by choice. Customers don't go beyond one page of Google to search for what's the right solution. Some follow the Gartners or the other ratings and they go by the magic quadrants, or they follow their peers and they end up being, and if they go by the consulting of the big firms, they end up being, choosing the same old software that has a couple of years of product roadmap And so they're not able to get true value out of procurement. So what we're doing as Insight Plum is, firstly, we are the world's only and the leading provider of uh, emerging tech and procurement. So we are partnering with Xeeva, and we are partnering with many others in the top 100 with the single purpose to actually make technology more accessible to customers of all size. That is what we're doing. Now, what is also happening as a result of this is we are able to basically give an agnostic point of view to our customers and give them the right solution for their size, for their need. Now, all of this is actually still not possible without the talent aspect. So that's another aspect of our company, is that, you know, with the skills changing, with the ecosystem of providers changing, on the technology side, the operating model changing. So we do need um, more skilled talent in procurement. Simply, there is also a shortage of talent in procurement to even fulfill the jobs that are out there today. Um, and in a couple of years of time, you will probably have about a couple of million unfilled procurement jobs, simply because the talent has not scaled up to the skills needed to actually do those jobs. So we're going through this transition as an industry, and that's why Insight Plum was created on 3 pillars. Let me walk you through the 3 pillars, and so we'll skip through some slides and come back and forth. Um, let's come to our offering. So we got 3 pillars here: technology, services, and talent. What we do is bring together, like I said, all technology from leading and emerging tech. Um, and we offer them in different models for customers to consume that. So you can have your normal software license, you can have it platform as a service, you can also have it, you know, in a way that you just pay as you go for, especially for small enterprise who don't need a full procurement suite yet, and maybe just on a case-by-case basis need to start testing what digital procurement can do for them. So there's also those options. So that's what we do. And then we are basically implementing that technology for the customers and integrating with their other systems, whether it's ERP systems or other systems, and then building a roadmap for them for innovation, for, you know, transformation of their whole digital procurement. So that's what we do on the technology vertical. Now, where we start is through a free procurement maturity assessment, in which we actually assess their current procurement maturity of their current tools. A lot of times in the small enterprise space and medium enterprise space, we also find that they could be greenfield. They don't have technology systems before, and they're trying to digitize. In some cases, we find they have obsolete systems, or they have incomplete coverage across source to pay. So whatever the case is, we figure out first what their need is, and then accordingly suggest the right solution for them. Now, and like, technology alone cannot solve an organization problem if, you know, we're not able to first assess their maturity, their organization structure, their data, their processes. So there's a lot of consulting work out there to kind of help them improve their processes, to simplify their processes, to have a procurement strategy in place, a target operating model in place, to also make decisions on what they should keep in-house, what are elements of the process they could outsource. So we work on all these elements in the services area. And then we have the talent vertical, where we're doing a free skill assessment for everybody across the world to assess where their current skills are in procurement, in technology, in management, wherever, and see what skills, with their skills, what jobs they do match with in the procurement and the whole ecosystem of, you know, the procurement industry, the different jobs. So we are already nurturing about 10,000 plus profiles in procurement, and we have these job cards. These are about 50 odd job cards that actually define the different skill sets. So we match these individuals against those job cards, and in some they have a good match, in others they don't. And then we also have a leaderboard, so we are able to actually figure out if you are in the top percentile, or where do you actually stand in regards to that job role in terms of your skill set. Bottom line being that everybody, no matter how experienced or skilled they are, there is an opportunity to still upskill them, to pick up new skills because skills are getting redundant. To give you a simple example, even the millennials who are joining from, let's say, universities with the latest education, within 3 to 4 years of them leaving the university, their skills are becoming obsolete. So even the absolute fresh people with new skills, those skills get obsolete very soon. So there's a need for continuous learning, continuous upskilling, and that's what we help to do to create net new talent in procurement, to kind of start addressing this gap that is widening unless companies like ourselves actually start to bridge the gap in talent. So that's what we do in terms of our offering. Now, I already explained this, so probably not to go in a lot of detail here, but let's probably look at it on the implementation side, and what we also do is something called as Innovation Garage. So I explained about the different procurement software. So where we are, what we are doing is trying to be ahead of the curve. So now if you look at the big four, for example, since they only partner with one or two of the procurement tech providers, the capability they have, the consultants they have, they only have skills or experience in those one or two tech. What we're trying to do as a company is basically, since we have partnerships with 20 odd procurement tech vendors, including emerging leaders like Xeeva, so we are upskilling ourselves on the technology that Xeeva, for example, has to offer. And Xeeva has a great product. So we are able to get our consultants to understand the unique point of view of Xeeva. Where does Xeeva differentiate? Where would Xeeva be a very good fit for our clients? And then we position that to our clients, and we have the experience then to do all the consulting work needed and the actual project work needed to implement that technology for them, to help them actually transform, digitize, do other aspects of it, like change management and adoption of on the supplier side or the content side. And then once they are digitized, and let's say other companies that are already digital, we are doing design thinking. We're doing a continuous engagement with them in which we identify use cases that we can work with our innovation partners or with, again, our existing procurement tech partners to actually work on those use cases, expand their product, and solve some unique industry problem. And so we build these prototypes and proof of concept solutions with our partners. And once, let's say, these proof of concepts are successful, we are able to deploy that technology and integrate that technology and embed that into the main IT systems of the more mature customers that we have that are looking for these innovations. So there's a continuous intellectual property development, continuous innovation, continuous automation, adoption of latest emerging tech that's happening, whether it's IoT, whether it's blockchain, whether it's artificial intelligence. So that is what we're doing on that side of the spectrum with Innovation Garage. So that's kind of our tech offering. On the services, again, I explained earlier, so probably not to go in a lot of detail again here, but right from everything from strategy to consulting to transformation, and including accounts payable and outsourcing that. The other, I think the key things probably to highlight here, what are really emerging as need from the market is to do supply chain risk management, to do in general supplier risk management. So we're starting to see a lot of services around, managing risk in general, enterprise level risk and supplier risk. And then there is a huge focus on sustainability. So we're developing a unique sustainability offering, which is based on 3 parameters. Supply chain, which is covering, let's say, the sourcing and production. And then we have the procurement side, the indirect procurement side, which is on the consumption. So we're trying to see how across sourcing, production, and consumption, an enterprise is actually, what's the carbon footprint of an enterprise? And then we are literally educating the organizations on what are the sustainable development goals, how to actually define goals for themselves, how to assess their current state. We help them benchmark against their peers in the industry and market leaders. So we're coming from a point of view of who are the market leaders in um, sustainable practices, or who's leading the sustainability agenda within those sectors, within those geographies. And we bring those practices, those consulting, those tech to the other customers that we have. And then on the tech side, then there's a lot of tech needed. There's a lot of emerging tech being used to actually measure sustainability. So then we are also partnering with emerging tech providers in the sustainability space. So that's what we do. Talent I already explained again, but now just going in a bit more detail, we're running a global masterclass to really bring awareness on what skills are needed today in procurement. And it helps people benchmark the skills they have versus the skills needed to kind of start to upskill themselves and more future-proof their careers. So we're doing both employee and organization skill assessment, and then having these curated journey paths or learning journeys for people to upskill themselves. We're also helping create more and more procurement leaders, sustainability champions. So we're raising a lot of awareness on the role of procurement in sustainability, for example, or the role of, what a true procurement leader or a CPO can do to in terms of impacting the organization. So there's a lot of work like that. And then we're running a training academy. So again, if you look at the whole ecosystem of tech providers, including Xeeva, so it takes a long time to actually develop the product and take it to market and take it to market across the globe. But if you really want to grow, you need to grow with partners, both on the side of sales, but also on the side of delivery. So how does a company like Xeeva, for example, go across the globe and be able to deploy Xeeva to customers? Now, one solution that most providers can have, of course, is to have their own delivery consultants, but it's not easy to scale up across the globe, both from a sales point of view, as well as from a delivery point of view. So that's where we come in as a service provider. We are really building training curriculum, training academy for our tech providers, because then it helps us deliver that training, whether it is for internal employees or whether it is for consultants around the globe to upskill on new tech. So it's somewhat following the model, like, what SAP has been able to achieve over a long period of time. It's been over 40 odd years since SAP, or 50 years since SAP was established as a company. So they have like this learning hub, they have the different courses and certification. But if you take it to the emerging tech ecosystem, for them to get there on their own is a long journey. So it's better that, a provider like us is able to be like a central global provider for all the different emerging tech providers and provide them their training content and different courses that people can consume in bite size, get up their skills, upskill themselves, get the certification, and then also get practical experience as they get involved in projects around the world. So that's kind of the training academy piece. And then now interim and other placements. So there's a lot of shortage of procurement skills, as I already explained. So the rare skills need to be well managed. So constantly having a database of consultants and nurturing their profiles and upskilling them, we're also in a position to then offer this talent pool to the different clients. And it also includes our emerging tech partners. So we are able to offer domain experts on an interim basis or permanent basis, or augment in projects or in different ways. Now, some people also do like this contract skill hire where they just try out the skills. If it works, they keep the person and employ them. Doesn't work, they're able to get a different person. And there's a lot of work now that's happening remote, and there's movement around the globe. So there's a lot of work we do on global mobility and managing a global workforce, payroll, visas, and that sort of stuff. And then also help to leverage cost by subcontracting and doing a lot of offshore services. So that's kind of our talent offering. Now, how do we compare to the market? We're basically how we see the market is that, like I explained, some of the leading tech providers that you see today, the CSI firms, the consulting and system integrators, they are very limited in their strategy because they're offering only one or two, like SAP, in some cases, Coupa. So that's their range of tech offering. If you compare us, we are offering top 20 of the 100 emerging tech. And they all have a place. They all have a place where they are relevant. Like, Xeeva is our global partner. Xeeva is very relevant in a lot of places, in analytics, in P2P, in marketplaces, in sourcing, which is AI enabled. So there's a lot of scope for our providers in different markets, in different sectors, across sectors. And that kind of gives us, a much broader offering than anyone else in the market. And this is really part of the new ecosystem that is emerging. And eventually, all the other SIs that you see in this table are effectively going to be able to also need to partner at some stage with the likes of Xeeva and others, and will have to upskill their capability. And by that time, both we as a service provider like Insight Plum and Xeeva as a partner, we would have gained a lot of maturity on our partnership across the globe and have a lot of projects and experience under our belt. So that's how we're kind of, starting to disrupt and lead this ecosystem together with our partners. Same with the service offering, offering a full range services, doing a lot on talent. So as a provider, you need to be holistic. So that's why we're looking at it both from a tech service and talent offering point of view. And then being a smaller company, we're more agile. We can give better commercial value. We can have commercial models that are really innovative. They're outcome based. And then I already mentioned to you about innovation garage. So having a way to continuously innovate on a scalable architecture, that's what we're able to do with our more agile tech partners. So that gives us a real lead in how we are positioning our offering compared to the rest of the market. Now, hopefully you start seeing this from analyst firms as we go around this journey, in the coming years. So I'm not going to walk you through everything here, but again, just a quick summary of what's happening today in the industry, the typical customer transformation challenges. It starts right from solution selection to clearly defining the project scope or choosing the implementation partner. And since if you choose depending on the software you choose, then accordingly, you also need the provider that provides the skills, and then the project costs are high because the skill set is also scarce. There also a lot of opportunity in better planning and mobilizing projects, in governance, in on-time delivery, adoption, and actually realizing the business benefit case, effective change management, and then post-go live support, getting the right knowledge transfer in, and having a way to actually what you've deployed to be actually continuously scalable for innovation. So all these are typical challenges customers are facing across the globe. The impact of, or the legacy and impact of these poor implementations is effectively, it has a long-lasting impact on organizations, business, and their culture. There's, of course, limited ROI from suboptimal solution implementations. There's a lot of missed opportunity out there to make a positive business impact, to make, really procurement make a significant impact to business, whether it's in terms of process improvement, efficiency, or compliance. There are high business as usual support costs then, to run business on these technologies. And there's limited ability to scale these solutions and to support continuous innovation. So that is what we are changing as an implementation provider. Starting from having the solution expertise to help customers choose the right solutions, to then having the expertise to actually deploy those solutions in a way that is quick, efficient, and also, the solutions are changing, right? So if you're going to be stuck as a customer on the dinosaurs of our industry, you will get a product that is really obsolete compared to, the newer tech partners like Xeeva that we have. We're able to go live with a partner like Xeeva, not within months, not within weeks, but sometimes within days. So we're talking to go live within weeks for certain elements of sourcing, P2P, analytics, probably analytics in 6 weeks, you're up and running with all the organization data and analytics. Sourcing less than a month, P2P less than a month. So that's what we're able to bring in along with our emerging tech partners to customers worldwide now. So, and obviously quicker implementation, quicker go live with better technology, better user experience, uh, simply means better ROI and makes a real impact. So that is what we are really going after. There's also need for less knowledge transfer because the solutions are more intuitive. So it's also resonates better with the business partners, the end users, because they're also used to more advanced technology in their personal lives. So that's helping us actually drive more implementation success on newer tech with customers. How we really drive sustainable transformation. So we have this holistic approach, which explained at the beginning of the presentation, is what customers need, is how we have actually designed our whole transformation. So we go and help them digitize their process with the leading tech. And here we start with pre-assembled minimum viable product solutions. So always when they start, they already have a best practice solution that is ready, that has running processes. All that is needed is customer specific data and an ability to tailor the solution to their needs. But they can literally start, that's why within days, with a best practice process, a simple process that eliminates unnecessary transactions, is more automated, is more insight driven. And then we do agile sprints to add complexity, test and integration. And a lot of the work is really about content enablement, supplier enablement. So the more content that is enabled and the more focus there is on enabling content rather than just getting a solution up and running, that's where we have the success. So it helps them align with their strategic imperative of digitizing in quick time. And then we start to drive insights. So once, let's say, they're digitized, digitization is the prerequisite to actually start to drive insights. That's where we also have our company name Insight Plum come from, because we are all about driving insight-driven processes. So it's the fine end of the artificial intelligence spectrum, where you have augmented artificial intelligence, where you have the machine giving you the insight, just like the human, and to be able to make decisions like humans. So a lot of the work after you are digitized is about re-engineering processes with insights, with AI, with, let's say, other tech, other emerging tech. So it builds in better user experience. It builds in more informed decision making. It embeds compliance and control, and it helps you obviously start to get competitive advantage, competitive differentiation in the market. So that's what we're doing with driving insights, and it's a continuous process. And then it's the talent amplification, which is again continuous. So the target operating model is changing with the industry, with time, with the needs of the market. Is really dynamic. So continuously upskilling talent to actually be able to leverage these technologies and new operating models to be relevant to the organization. That is, again, part of our transformation. And that's why actually we use the word sustainable transformation, because it's continuous, it's sustainable, the architecture is viable for innovation and for scaling with the growth of the company. So that's how kind of we are managing transformation. And then this journey ultimately leads you from what a decade ago you would be seen as a leader with being digital. Now that is just the foundation. You of course need to be digital and then start to embed analytics and cognitive insights into your business, better buying experience, dynamic marketplaces, and risk management tools to actually be a true leader today. So that's kind of a maturity curve we drive our customers towards in about anywhere between 9 months to about 18 months. They start to be that mature market leader. So again, not to bore you with comparison in a lot of detail here, but our value compared to large system integrators and consulting firms is basically a lot of work that we do that others don't do, simply from the range of technology to actually doing a free procurement maturity assessment, to doing all the data prep and migration. Um, Always training and change management is included, and always outcome-based deals. So you always have a sure return on investment. All our projects are actually self-funding. And in addition, if we are able to add project finance, it essentially means that the customers, without really spending anything, have a way to actually break even very quickly, um, and actually realize value. And the finance actually funds that. So without any outlay from their side, they actually have improved process, have saved money, and that's how we're able to also recover our fees. So that's a self-funding model. I mean, a basic comparison, what would take a typical SI about 500 to 1,000 man days, we would be able to do anywhere between 100 to 300 man days. That means that with us and with our emerging tech partners like Xeeva, we would break even, a lot quicker. And the ROI would be 7 to 8 times, 10 times more compared to a large SI. So that is the true value that we are bringing along with our emerging tech partners. We do have some of the large customers, so where we are helping them with a strategic roadmap consulting and transformation and integration and all that. But we're really looking to start to add more emerging tech partners and more small and medium enterprise along with our partners, and then do more of those projects. So that's really about us in a nutshell. I'll actually go back to one slide and hand it over to Milan, who I've actually kind of skipped it so far. Milan, so maybe over to you. Milan is leading our whole alliances ecosystem across the globe, and he's the one who's built all these partnerships for us. So I'll let Milan talk through this ecosystem, the new emerging ecosystem.
Thank you, Mayank. I think it's really exciting time for me being in the tech space and in the procurement at the same time. What I have observed over my career is that lots of companies, or any company you can think of, invests a lot of money into core business systems, whether it's financial services, manufacturing, industrial. However, some of the systems which are extremely critical for the basic functioning of the company, like the procurement or sourcing, supply chain management, they simply lag behind in terms of technology, innovation, and investment in the space of where technology can help, be it automation, be it data-centric approach to the company or to the business as such. So right now, I believe what Mayank mentioned is really critical breakpoint, both in the procurement and supply chain domains, but also in the technology. The era of the monolithic applications or suites is almost over, and very quickly a wave of new technology offerings built on the latest innovations or progress in the, let's say, computing, research, development domains like math and programming, be it artificial intelligence based on machine learning, be it really autonomous systems and many other technologies. They are building new wave of suppliers or companies bringing these technologies to the service of procurement and supply chain professionals. So right now, for me, the most exciting part of what we do at the Insight Plum is to be able to see, understand, and compare different approaches to sometimes point solutions, which are really focused on very specific area and domain in the procurement, but also sometimes the more advanced, more complex service and software offerings, and bring these software offerings or technology offerings to our customers together with the software vendor. That is for me extremely exciting, but also I'm proud that we opened the doors of innovation and give some light of hope to our customers that things can be much better, even more fun when dealing with something, I dare say, boring, like procurement could be to many of the users. Nowadays, things can be done really, really much simpler, much faster, much more streamlined, and still provide great impact on user experience, but also in terms of process optimization, cost savings, etc., etc. And that's why I'm so excited about Xeeva and Insight Plum partnering, because Xeeva's data-centric point of view on the procurement and managing basically all the spend, and then turning the observations or findings from the spend analysis into actionable insights. This is something that cuts short weeks, probably even more than weeks, of otherwise manual analytical work done in other tools. And this actually is direct financial saving, or even better purchases, better sourcing decisions much faster, especially in this critical time. So our ecosystem of partners is built on two pillars. And one obviously is the existing leading procurement technologies. These people, these solutions have their place in the world today, and they will play their important role for quite a few years to come. However, we want really to be bringing the best of the new technologies to our customers, give them the choice, show the art of possible, and also put it into context of the new challenges that business faces today, be it the pandemic situation, be it global world security situation, be it environmental, let's say, affairs like global warming and impact on different parts of the supply chain there. So for me, really, I believe I have a very luxurious job in dealing with the companies who are very innovative, but who are very focused, and we all work towards the same end goal, which is better service to our customers and innovating much faster than it was possible before. So that's all from my side.
Mayank, Milan, thank you so much for that walkthrough. Greatly appreciate that. It was great just learning more about your capabilities and expertise within the procurement technology landscape as well. So I do have a few questions based upon what I just saw. Mayank, I know you talked about road mapping and assessment briefly, but what are some tips you would give to a mid-market focused company on performing a data transformation?
Yeah, so I think data is, of course, really key, and it's very important for companies to lay the right foundation. Companies should not get ahead of themselves on deploying technology first. They really need to assess, understand, and what we help customers really do is this assessment phase or prep phase. What are the prerequisites before you can actually get full value out of technology? So having the right foundation for master data, having the right, let's say simple things like, your unit of measures, your commodity codes, your process, understanding the process to capture data, that needs to be established. And once you deploy the technology, you are able to capture the right data, and you are able to then effectively run a more digital company and actually use that data for decision making. And so that's where what my advice would be.
Great. And at Xeeva too, we like to say better data, better insights, better outcomes. So I agree with you on that. Just kind of going off that as well too, Mayank, I have another question for you. I know you briefly touched upon it in your presentation there, but what are some of the best practices in driving sustainable procurement? And to go off that, where do you see companies fall short in trying to reach those sustainable efforts?
Yeah, it's a great question. So I think the question of sustainable procurement, I think, is on many folds, right? To do sustainable business, have the right sustainable technology. So like I said in my presentation, I think three important aspects to look at really are sustainable sourcing, sustainable production, and sustainable consumption. To have sustainable consumption, for example, you're looking at the right sort of infrastructure, for example, IoT-based offices, um, business processes that minimize consumption or maximizes compliance and control. Um, Fundamentally, what you source, procurement has a key role to play in sourcing the right stuff. If procurement demands from suppliers that they need products that are sustainable, then they would create. So then sourcing procurement would demand the right products, means the suppliers would create the right product. So that would really deliver genuine sustainability across the ecosystem. And then when it comes to their own production or manufacturing, it's again layers and layers of supply chain, right? So what we help customers and what our advice to customers is basically first step is assessing on all these three parameters. What is your impact on sustainability? What's your carbon footprint? How to effectively measure. Now, it doesn't mean you have to measure across 20,000 suppliers the footprint. With partners we have, like, for example, CarbMe, all you need is embed the measurement of your top suppliers that impact. And these kind of reports are enabled through ERP. So you're able to measure a significant impact. But a lot of it is also on best practices. Like I said, on procurement plays a key role here, right? To just drive sustainability from that point of view. Now, if you look at other than environmental sustainability, the business sustainability itself, the sustainable digital procurement business is all about partners like yourself, like Xeeva. How do you build a scalable architecture in the company? I mean, I can tell you this is coming in the next few years. All the big companies of the world are in for a disaster. The technology they have installed, the consulting that they're getting from the big SIs, it's all at some point that architecture will have to fall apart because it's not scalable. We are consulting some really big firms, and we realize that they have no choice but at some point to abandon the current architecture and start fresh. So I believe with partners like yourself and Insight Plum, we are on a journey to build this new ecosystem, to build this new sustainable digital procurement journey. We can talk a lot more on days and months on this. So I'll stop here on this.
No, perfect. That was a great response. Thank you for that. And this is a great segue into my next question again, Mayank. So I know AI is talked about a bunch within the procurement landscape. So, what are some of the recent trends you've been seeing within AI? Do you think using AI is necessary for a company to achieve, sustainable procurements, like you said? I just want to know, what are some of your thoughts regarding that?
Yes, again, so there are two things I see happening here. So one, of course, customers are on the lookout for what they can get from the market. But normally their adoption of AI is pretty low simply because of the current tools that they have or the current level of digitization or data that they have. So there's a lot of data that needs to be better managed as a prerequisite to actually get more value out of the AI that's available in the market. That is one side. The other side, customers are also trying to have their own AI departments, but they're not able to go beyond proof of concepts simply because, they're trying to reinvent the wheel, and more probably that already technology exists somewhere else. So there is a need for providers like ourselves to run innovation garage or augment an internal AI capability with external. And why we are also having all these partners, the new emerging partners like yourself, is because you're probably already solving a certain use case with your tech, with AI enabled in your tech, that we can simply act as a bridge to bring those to customers. So the trends that we're really seeing, or what we are recommending customers, is case by case, either build a piece of innovation that with the newer partners, it's easy to kind of add that piece of innovation to their main IT systems, or in other cases, it's something that they have to, um, let us bring in with the partners, and simply they bring in what's already invented and they deploy it.
Awesome. Thank you so much for that answer there, Mayank. But I'll turn it over to Milan for this question. So Milan, I know you briefly touched upon it in the slide, but what are some of the benefits you've been seeing about attaining a partnership in a post-COVID procurement landscape?
Well, the post-COVID landscape is completely different. Right now, the world is different than it has been 2 years ago. And during those 2 years, we learned, every single person on planet learned that nothing is granted and that there are risks everywhere. When it comes to technology, the more the technology helps people to perform the jobs, the more the technology is reliable from a business perspective, then you have better chances of surviving as a business. I would say that properly structured and technologically developed procurement, sourcing, supply chain organizations or functions within organizations, large and small, are actually critical to survival of the business as such. And that is something we learned very, very quickly after first months of lockdowns and empty shelves in many shops. Then during the distribution of the vaccines around the world, then in many other cases, simply business somehow took all the functions which are feeding the inputs, raw materials, parts, whatever, for granted. Just in time was just a norm. Nowadays, we see with other risks coming in, and COVID was the start of it, that not always this is the ideal solution. So I think that partnerships which we have and the ecosystem is now trying really to help companies to very quickly move procurement functions, supply chain functions into more resilient world. It's not anymore about the basic process as such. It is about giving customers really real-time insights into what's happening. That's where the artificial intelligence helps extremely. There is no way a human brain can analyze that amount of data in a normal time frame. And then there is obviously a huge amount of data sitting outside of the organization that giving us the signals, what is likely to happen to my supply, where my suppliers are heading, where are the risks associated, etc., etc. So COVID actually opened this Pandora box of the complacent procurement organizations who were caught unprepared. And suddenly the demand for the new technologies really is just reactive or reaction to those dangers or to those risks which COVID exposed for the first time, but unfortunately those risks are not going away. So that's where I see where we have really gained a lot over past months, year, as an Insight Plum, together with you, Xeeva, and many other our partners. We are simply building more resilient business critical function like sourcing and procurement.
Awesome. That was a perfect answer. So that's it on my end with the questions and answers. I really appreciate the both of you taking the time to walk through Insight Plum's capabilities. I believe everyone can gain a lot from the presentation you gave around sustainable procurement practices and just describing the partnership strategy as well too. But I really appreciate you taking the time today. So thank you so much.
We appreciate this opportunity. Thank you very much for inviting us. Looking forward to seeing you again.
Likewise.
Thank you, Andrew. Apologies for long answers. Thank you.
No worries. The more the better.